You're listening to the 𝒑𝒔𝒅 Alchemy for Life podcast.
A story and some good news. Well, hey there. Welcome back. You survived Thanksgiving by now, I assume. So congratulations on that, because we know that that manipulates your time, energy, and resources in a lot of ways, just like the upcoming season of purchasing and gatherings and food and all that stuff manipulates your time, energy, and resources. And there's a podcast that I did called Balancing the Holidays, which if you listen to that, you'll say, oh, that's what's happening to me. Oh, that's why I'm so frustrated. Oh, that's why I seem to have a lot more stress and I'm not sure where it's coming from exactly. All I have to do is go to a party with my in-laws. Why am I so upset? So congratulations on making it through that. And we'll make it through the rest together. Don't worry about it. But that's not what today's podcast is about. So instead, I want to wish you a happy NaNoWriMo. So first of all, you're going to say, wait a second, it's pretty much almost over. So why are you congratulating that to me? And then the other people will say, wait, what are you guys talking about? What's NaNoWriMo? And NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month. So every November is National Novel Writing Month, right? And it's when people get together or not together and they just decide that they're going to write 50,000 words. Yes, 50,000 words in a month. Let me tell you a story about that. And I'm going to hand you something and then I'm going to make an announcement. Years ago, when I first heard of NaNoWriMo, it was people on the internet that I knew. And this was a while back when it wasn't as common to have connections to people that you hadn't met yet. But now it's like completely common through social media and even like the interviews I do in my podcast, in which I get to know people, but I probably may never meet them, right? But they're kind of far away, good people. So they were doing NaNoWriMo, and it was about halfway through the month, and I realized, ooh, that sounds kind of cool. Well, the month passed, people sometimes accomplished their goals and sometimes they didn't. Then I decided, I'm not going to whip out Word 97. I'm instead going to create a writing site from scratch. And I did. I created it with a library, which people could submit their stories. They could actually interact with other people. All this stuff could happen. And it was based on a point system and people really liked it. And I even had something like, 600 members. It was fun. And free, because you know how that works. So I did write my 50,000 word story. It never saw the light of day, but I did it. And I was like, okay, so it is possible to do this. And that was even before I understood time, energy, and resources. And now I completely understand how one must make time, energy, and resources to do such a feat. So then one day, a few years later, after the dust settled from some major life changes, I wrote my first nonfiction, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And then, as you know, after a walk in a cemetery and hearing voices and a poem, I wrote my first epic, and then the duet. And then I published the prequel last month, Upside Down. And then a couple weeks ago, I met with another book club to discuss The Sword and the Sunflower. And it was one of the most unique and fascinating and, frankly, vulnerable experiences I've ever had. So I want to say to you, everything starts somewhere. And writing starts with just one thing, which I am handing you right now. So please hold on to this until the end and don't look at it. The reason I tell you this story and the reason I mention this now at the end of NaNoWriMo is because I have some good news to share with you. See, a lot of people are writing a book, but very few people have written a book. There are a lot of people who say, oh, I'm kind of writing a book on this, or everyone tells me I should write a book on this. But that's as far as it goes, right? That's it. It's kind of fun to think about. And we've talked about in one of the other podcasts, something I call stolen validation. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and look it up. You can look it up on the site, or you can scroll through your podcast software until you hit the one I called stone validation, and you'll start to get it. But people are writing a book, and most people haven't written a book. There are a lot of people out there in the world, a lot of companies, and I'm sure you probably see them in your feed if you've ever done any Google searches at all for writing or book publishing or independent publishing or this or that, or how to write letters to publishers or how to get published. Oh my, you are probably bombarded with people who want to help you. They'll phrase it in all sorts of fun ways that'll sound like you're the most important writer in the world if you would just hand over the equivalent of your car, you know? They want to talk about bestsellers and they want to talk about charts and all sorts of great stuff. But every single one of those things starts where the thing I just talked about ends. And the thing that I just talked about ends way beyond where you have ever gotten if you're only writing a book. Do you see how far back we are? Do you see what step we're at? So if you're someone who's considering writing a book, or somebody who is writing a book or has been perpetually writing a book for the last 15 years, or you know someone like this, because I know you do, because I know if you're not writing a book, you certainly know something. You know a friend who talks about writing a book or always wanted to or has aspirations to put their pen to paper and go for it, right? And either they don't or they do a little bit. And then they say real life gets in the way, right? So if you're not that person, you have to hand the thing I handed you to them, okay? And if you are that person and they are that person, then it magically can duplicate. So don't relax. So I know I just gave it to you and I'm asking you to give it away. And like, you're like, well, this doesn't exist. Why do I feel like I'm giving up something? I know, right? Psychology. So when these people are approached by these people to be bestsellers, we're forgetting about a bunch of steps. It's the step of going from I'd like to write something, I am writing something, to I've written something. And again, all I'm talking about, which blows your mind and blows my mind, is that you did it. That's it. I'm not talking about a fantastic book. I'm not talking about a bestseller. I'm not talking about being published by, a well-known publisher. I'm talking about literally being able to look at a file on your computer or a stack of papers on your desk and say, that's the book I wrote. With the inability to go back to it and live edit it as somebody's reading it. Nope, you're done. You've actually written it to the point where you're satisfied as you can be, right? I mean, anyone who creates something, there's always room for improvement and so on and so forth. But there is a certain zen, a certain peace that you can get as a creator that says, no, it's done. It's done. Love it or not, it's done. And the person who has to love it first is you. And before you can finish that book, you have to start it. And you have to consistently make it happen. And to consistently make it happen, you need to not say, well, real life got in the way. And why did real life get in the way? Because you didn't have the time, the energy, or the resources to complete it. And above all that, there's one last thing, and it's the thing you're holding in your hand. It's the license to write. So I've given you the license to write. Even though you don't want to give it to yourself, even though you want to say, well, I should really be doing this or that or the other thing, I don't care. I just gave you the license to write. So, having given you the license to write and told you that story, I want to tell you something. I am going to be revealing something above and beyond a podcast to help you to write a book, to help you to actually write a book. That's it. It sounds like a really low bar, and yet it's the bar that most people don't reach. It's not about a bestseller. It's not about choosing the right font. It's about writing a book. That's it. It sounds so dumb. Like, what do you mean completing a book? You mean writing a book. So that you can say you've written a book, period. Because if you can never write a book, you can never go to those other steps. So stay tuned, enjoy your license, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey there, thanks for listening. You know I always enjoy your feedback. The prequel to The Sword and the Sunflower duet, called Upside Down, is now available. The Sword and the Sunflower is available as Kindle, paperback, and audiobook, with the other two, 𝑼𝒑𝒅𝒆 and Upside Down, being available as Kindle and paperback. Well, actually, all three books are now available in hardcover.